Nazi army. Around 150,000 men of Jewish stock battled in Hitler's military, while their families back home were being corralled into ghettos and shipped off to concentration camps. These men were in Poland, France, or Russia, spreading the fundamentalist framework that was slaughtering their kin over Europe. It's difficult to see. However, numerous Jewish Germans pursued military assistance. Each man had his own motivation to do it, regularly one of need. Told together, their accounts give an unbelievable understanding into life for A+. Of Nazi Germany, an insignia at his chest, standing glad over a decree that this was the ideal German soldier. But the ideal German fighter wasn't an individual from Hitler's Lord race. He was half Jewish. Werner Goldberg had joined the military following quite a while of battling with his own personality. His dad never revealed to him he was Jewish, rather. Werner discovered when he was 14 in the most embarrassing manner conceivable. His chief announced that their school would be sans Jew, and afterward openly singled Goldberg out as the school's Jewish problem. In a moment, Goldberg wound up outwardly, and he was urgent to fit back in. He pursued the military, the main possibility he could, getting in sufficiently early to battle in the primary intrusion of Poland, but back at home. His dad battled through the detestations of the Holocaust, and Goldberg had to utilize his impact to spare his dad more than once. At a certain point, in the wake of discovering that his dad would have been shipped off Auschwitz, Werner snuck into the structure they were utilizing as his jail and broke his dad out. It worked. Toward the finish of the war, everything except one individual from his family had passed on. The just one remaining to welcome Werner was the Jewish dad he had spared from the concentration camp. Number 09. Nachemia. It has for quite some time been discussed exactly how well the warriors of the Nazi armed force comprehended what was occurring behind the inhumane imprisonment dividers. However, among the Nazis' 72nd Infantry, there was limited who certainly knew it firsthand. Nachemia Werman. 2. Werman was a Holocaust survivor. He was a Polish Jew who had been shipped off work camps in 1944, where he'd persevered through each loathsomeness possible. He'd seen his own dad executed, and he'd even been compelled to wash utilizing cleanser produced using the assemblages of his campmates. In time, he figured out how to get away. He fled west, wanting to locate the Soviet armed force. However, he ran legitimately into a Nazi legion. Werman realized he wouldn't have the option to sneak past them, so all things being equal, he strolled straight up to them, shook their hands, and presented himself as Marion Schmidt, German conceived chef. Soon, Werman was an aspect of the Nazi regiment. From that point on, he went through the battle with an insignia on his arm, taking care of the warriors and supplicating that no one would acknowledge who he truly was. The best concealing spot, Werman stated, was in the mouth of the wall. Number 08. Arno Spitz. One of the more embellished men in the Nazi armed force was Arno Spitz. Before the finish of the war, he'd won 3 Iron Crosses, the most elevated honor a Nazi could gain for bravery. He was a paratrooper, one adored by the Nazi armed force, regardless of whether they totally despised his dad. Spitz's dad was Jewish, and he'd experienced such savage oppression back home that, from the get-go during the ascent of Nazi Germany, he fled the nation for the United States. Spitz, in any case, stayed and established such a connection with his bosses that he didn't need to conceal his parentage. In 1940, compelled, the Nazis kicked each half-Jewish warrior out of the military. However, Spitz was such a viable fighter that he was permitted to stay to the end. He demanded that by battling with the Nazis, he didn't do anything incorrectly. He battled for Germany, Not for Hitler, he disclosed to Dateline NBC in 2002, proclaiming, "There is a difference." 3. Not everybody in his family, in any case, sees it a similar way. Spitz said that his little girl has blamed him for partaking in the Nazis' wrongdoings against his own kin. In any case, regardless of her reprimands, Spitz wouldn't cover up or apologize for his time battling in Hitler's military. "I don't need to," he said. "I didn't do whatever is a wrongdoing." Number 07. Hans-Gert Falkenberg. "I would not like to join the military," Hans-Gert Falkenberg said. "I needed to join the army." He joined the German armed force when war was proclaimed. Jews were at that point beginning to see their shops annihilated and being bugged in the roads. And Falkenberg wanted to associate himself to the German side of his personality to remain alive. He'd heard his instructors tell his classes that the Jewish race was mediocre and edgy. To demonstrate his correspondence, he'd spent his young years attempting to be the best at everything the Nazis esteemed. Joining the military was only a characteristic following stage for him, but as he battled in France, his grandma was sending him letters, letting him watch the Holocaust gradually unfurl back home, then, at some point, the letters halted. His grandma, he would before long learn, had been shipped off a fixation camp. It was a stun, for him as well as for the individuals who thought about him, also. One companion of his kept in touch with him, with alarm. "I accept that the Jews are Germany's incident, however that has nothing to do with grandmother." The rest of his family had just fled to England, and Falkenberg thought about going along with them. Caught in Europe, encircled by the Nazi armed force, be that as it may, he simply didn't have a clue how it should be possible. The most secure thing was to remain in the military, Falkenberg would later say. No inquiry. Number 06. Helmut Kopp. Helmut Kopp was the child of a German man and Jewish lady. However, it was the Jewish side of his family that left him feeling persecuted. As a kid, Kopp stated, his maternal granddad would straightforwardly disregard him, declining to see him as an aspect of his family. At the point when he was scolded by his significant other and reminded that this was their little girl's child, his granddad snapped back that, no, this wasn't his grandson, this was their child-in-law's boy. "After how my granddad had treated me," Kopp stated, "I would not like to take ownership of my Jewish past." When the war began, he pursued the Wehrmacht, and when they gave him his papers, he checked himself down as full Aryan. For years, he battled with a Nazi gunnery unit. Kopp knew about the death camps, yet he legitimized what he was doing by just not thinking about it. "You didn't consider the Führer or the country," he said. 5. I contemplated myself, that either my tank or something will be hit and afterward I'll be gone at any rate, or I'll endure. Number 05. Friedemann Lee. Significant, Leo Skurnick was filling in as a specialist in the Finnish 53rd Infantry. He was a Jew, yet he was likewise a Finn, and that implied that, in the Soviet Union, he and the Nazis had a shared adversary. That put him one next to the other with a German SS division, battling against a Russian intrusion and attempting to help each man who was harmed by the Russian shells. Regardless of whether he was a Finnish trooper or an individual from the SS, he had made the Hippocratic vow, Skurnick's child told the National Post. 7. He wouldn't dismiss a harmed man, whatever his ethnicity. Skurnick, in any case, took it farther than that. He helped make ways for the German armed force to assault, and when a German trooper was out of luck, would hurry into a dead zone, taking a chance with his own everyday routine to spare injured Nazis. He spared the experiences of in excess of 600 men, a large number of them individuals from the SS. by sorting out a clearing of a field emergency clinic that was being besieged by Russian shells. Skurnick drove the injured Germans across 8.9 kilometers (5.5 miles) to Bogland, and when it was all finished was granted with an Iron Cross. Skurnick turned it down. He guaranteed that when he got word that the Germans needed to give him their most noteworthy honor, he told his leader, "Tell your German partners that I wiped my ass with it." Number 03. Harry Matzo. "We've been called fascist," Harry Matzo said, "which is a lie." He was a member of the Finnish army, a man who fought for a force allied with the Nazis. If the war had ended in their favor, his race, the Jewish race, would have been exterminated. Still, Matzo insists that he was no fascist. "Finnish Jews fought for Finland's independence," he said, "not for Germany's war aims." He joined the war after being conscripted by his nation. He answered their call, even though he knew that his nation was allied with the Nazis, and though, by 1942, he'd started hearing rumors of the systematic extermination of Jews in Germany, but Matzo feared life under Soviet rule every bit as much. Caught between two tyrants, he sided with the one nation he believed would take care of him, his homeland of Finland. Still, Matzo fought, rebelling in his own small, quiet way. When he saw a German soldier, he said he would staunchly refuse to salute. Number 02. Emile Morris. One of the organizers of the SS was by Heinrich Himmler's principles, a Jew. His name was Emile Morris, and he was named SS member number 2, second just to Adolf Hitler himself. Morris had been an aspect of the National Socialist Party from the beginning. He got together with Hitler in 1919 and before long rose up to be the preeminent head of Hitler's Sturmabteilung. He participated in the Beer Hall Putsch, Hitler's bombed rebellion in 1923. And sat with him in jail, where he even helped Hitler compose Mein Kampf. 9. Morris couldn't have been nearer to Hitler. The two even shared a sweetheart, Kelly Raubel, Hitler's niece. Had issues with the two men, a reality that would make the main split between them. In any case, the connection among Hitler and his SS member number 2 was solid to such an extent that when Heinrich Himmler freely uncovered Morris's Jewish family and requested that he be ousted from the SS, Hitler had Morris pronounced a privileged Aryan, and spared his life. Number 01. Erhar Milch. There are Jews who battled for Hitler despite the fact that they knew the repulsions of the Holocaust. However, Erhar Milch went considerably further. He didn't simply battle for Germany regardless of the abominations he participate. He was an individual from the German War Cabinet and the Nazi Air Force's head of staff. Few were higher up in the Nazi Party than he was, despite the fact that it was public information that his dad was Jewish. Milch, nonetheless, had companions in groundbreaking places. Hermann Göring considered him to be his protégé, and to protect his companion, he had Milch's mom sign an announcement saying that Erhar wasn't genuinely his dad's child, so Göring might have him enrolled as Valerian. No part of Milch actually appears to have felt compassion toward his dad's kin. During the Nuremberg preliminaries, he was accused of probing Jewish detainees in Dachau. They blamed him for assuming a part in human trials that sent Jewish detainees into perilous heights to perceive how high they could go before they passed on. Just as others that tried how cool water must be before the temperature would slaughter someone, Milch never apologized. At the point when the preliminaries came, he remained consistent with his guide, standing up with all due respect. At long last, he was indicted as a Nazi war criminal. Watch next video about more evil Nazis on 10 facts about the Spandau 7 Nazis and 10 Nazis who killed themselves with cyanide suicide capsules.